Good evening and welcome to News Night. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are live on Facebook. You're on X Spaces. This is News Night. President Mahama tonight is assuring recommendations from the National Education Consultative Forum will be implemented and not left unattended, as he promises to establish clear timelines to guide the execution of the proposed reforms.
And the outcomes of this conference, I assure you that your recommendations are not going to gather dust on a shelf.
More as he issues an apology to the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Christian Council for the delay in the invitation to the forum. Also, will stay a while longer on education, and stakeholders in the sector are calling for the decentralization of teacher deployment to address shortages in deprived areas. They warn that national teacher-pupil ratios masked critical district disparities such as Sambonjida, where pupils are paying the price for a teacher shortage, with untrained volunteers stepping in, but the results are disastrous.
There's an alphabet missing.
K, N.
L. So where's L? L is not there. So write the L there. Okay, so this is how to write the L. Yeah, you get it.
I get it. The whole school from KG1 to P6, we are only 2 teachers. It's a burden.
That's our crumbling start. That's got many of you talking already. Also tonight, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will return to Ghana in May. Minority Leader tells Parliament as he reviews contents of a letter written to the OSP.
Our client hopes that, taking into account the surgery dated the 20th to 21st of March and recuperation period, he should be able to back to this jurisdiction between 14th May and 30th May 2025.
We have details as the OSP rescinds wanted notice issued earlier for the former minister, plus no wanted notice issued for former NPA boss Dr. Mustafa Abdulhamid, contrary to earlier reports. Also tonight, Auditor General vows to thoroughly examine, scrutinize and investigate the sealed declared assets of public officials in clear contravention of the constitution that mandates they remain sealed. This comes as President John Mahama pushes for a review of the laws to make the content of these declarations public.
We are going to open it to see His Excellency has done. You don't seal it.
We must take advantage of the current.
Penyo Marking has told Parliament that the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will return to Ghana before the end of May. The Minority Leader read to the House a letter that has been written by lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta, who had earlier been declared as a wanted man by the Special Prosecutor. Well, listen to what transpired on the floor when the Majority Leader, Mahama, challenged the strategy used by the Minority Leader to convey the information to Parliament.
Have written to the OSP, and for the avoidance of doubt, I shall read the content aloud. It's addressed to the Special Prosecutor. Our redirection to attend the Office of Special Prosecutor. It reads, we acknowledge receipt of your letter dated the 17th of February 2025. We respectfully indicate that our client post-mark date for his return cannot be any time before 6 to 8 weeks after the possible surgical intervention in March stated in the Mayo Clinic letter. Our client hopes that, taking into account the surgery dated the 20th to 21st of March and recuperation period, he should be able to back to this jurisdiction between 14th May and 30th May 2025. We hope you find this date reasonable and same can guide your office in fixing a date for the in-person attendance of our client to your office for investigation. Having clarified the purpose and length of our client's absence, we hope that the tag of a wanted person...
Hold on, please. Yes, my Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, what the Minority Leader is doing is conveying a communication from the lawyers of Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta to this House. So, Speaker, the rules of this House are clear on communications. If you go to Order 65, it is clear on communications to the House. Who qualifies to communicate to the House? And who qualifies to convey the communication to the House? They are clearly spelled out in Order 65 And I think that what he's attempting to do is to convey a communication by the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta to this House, which is clearly wrong. So, Speaker, it is clearly wrong to attempt to be the conveyor of communication from Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers to this House. I think that it is not acceptable, and we cannot accept communication from the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta to this House. He is not a member of this House. He is not a Minister of State. And so there's no basis for this House to be receiving communication from the lawyers of Ken Ofori-Atta. We haven't summoned him before any of our committees. He is not to appear before a committee. We are not investigating him. So on what basis is his lawyers communicating to us when he will come to Ghana and when he will not come to Ghana? So, Mr. Speaker, there is no basis for the communication to this House of the whereabouts of Ken Ofori-Atta. And he is not qualified to convey that message to this House. And this House cannot properly receive that message. So I object to that communication being made to this House about the whereabouts of Ofori-Atta and when he will come to Ghana. I think the matter is between him and the Office of Special Prosecutor. Let him deal with them. This House is not interested in when he will come and when he will not come.
Well, so that's what transpired when the minority leader announced to Parliament when exactly Ken Ofori-Atta, the former finance minister, will be returning to Ghana. Let's bring in Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante for quick updates on how this particular issue was resolved. I'm curious, how did it end?
Well, the speaker, who was presiding at the time, being the second deputy speaker, as you heard, were given the opportunity to the majority leader to respond. Ultimately, the microphone was handed over back to the minority leader, who proceeded on the same tangent, but concluded and said that he had taken guidance, and that because this had become such a big matter of national importance, the statement having even been read on the floor of the House, he thought that it was important to put this matter back to Parliament because of that statement that had been taken 2 weeks prior. But he has taken the guidance, and that ultimately what he sought to convey, not just to the Parliament, but to the entirety of the Ghanaian public, is that Ken Ofori-Atta is no longer a fugitive. As far as we are concerned, he has given the indication to the special prosecutor when exactly he is available to return to the country for any investigation whatsoever and to his tenure to continue.
Well, so that's the situation in Parliament. But of course, after that, Kweku, we know that there was a notice that was issued or a press release by the Office of the Special Prosecutor that Ken Ofori-Atta is no longer a wanted man. That statement will go through. But what has been the reaction in Parliament to this since it's become topical in Parliament?
So, Emma, for when this urgent statement of a sort was delivered on the floor, other MPs were not allowed to comment because, as you will hear from the majority leader, they did not even believe in the procedure that was taken. Just outside the chamber, I spoke to a couple of NDC MPs who are just congregated there to try and get some of the thoughts. In fact, some of them are already talking about this subject. And they say that as far as they are concerned, they don't care when exactly Ken Ofori-Atta decides to make himself available to the special prosecutor. Most of them do hold the view that Ken Ofori-Atta cannot live outside the country forever. And it doesn't matter how long he stays, whenever he comes back to the country, his prosecution will be waiting and they will prosecute him to the full extent of the law.
That's Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Sante there joining us with some updates in Parliament when it comes to this particular matter. And like I mentioned, my colleague Michael Ashali joins me in studio. We have the latest press release from the Office of the Special Prosecutor when it comes to Ken Ofori-Atta. What does it say? What are the details?
This is signed by the Special Prosecutor himself, Kisi Ejabi, and it says that on 12th of February 2025, the Special Prosecutor declared Kenneth Yao, Nana Yao Ofori-Atta, a former Minister of Finance, a wanted person, a fugitive from justice on the ground that he had failed to indicate a reasonable time of his return to the jurisdiction, although he had been informed by the OSP that he was a suspect in various suspected corruption cases and corruption-related cases, and he had been directed to physically attend to the OSP in Accra on a specified date and at a specified time for interviewing. Now, on the 18th of February 2025, Mr. Ofori-Atta transmitted a communication through his lawyers to the OSP, by which he stated a definite date of his voluntary return to the jurisdiction. This makes a major shift from Mr. Ofori-Atta's previous intention of remaining outside the jurisdiction indefinitely. The statement goes on to say that so on the 18th of February 2025, the OSP has acceded to Ofori-Atta's request as he deemed his stated date of voluntary return to the jurisdiction reasonable in the circumstances, and so therefore it goes ahead to say that on this date the special prosecutor rescheduled the date of Mr. Ofori-Atta's attendance at the OSP, taking into account the stated date of return to the jurisdiction. It continues and finally ends that consequently Mr. Ofori-Atta has been removed from the OSP's list of wanted persons, and the OSP ceases to consider Mr. Ofori-Atta a fugitive from justice pending his voluntary return to the jurisdiction. MFA. So that's exactly what we have. So two things: received a letter from him which gives the OSP a definite date of his return. He doesn't state the exact date in this letter, but he says that pursuant to that, he's now gone ahead to remove his name from the list of wanted persons.
And it ends also by saying that if Mr. Ofori-Atta fails to voluntarily return to the jurisdiction, his stated date, and if he actually re-entered on the OSP's list of wanted list, and the OSP shall then consider him a fugitive from justice, and the OSP shall take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP at our own choosing. So the OSP continues by saying that they are committed to its mandate of ensuring accountability, guided by due process and fairness. And we'll be hearing from the minority leader in Parliament mention that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is due to return in May. And we must also say that I've been checking the Facebook page and the social media handles of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. There's no such notice or wanted notice for the former NPA boss, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, contrary to earlier report that he had been declared wanted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. There's no such notice on any of the social media platforms of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. It's a good time now to turn our attention to education. A lot happening on that front and that requires our attention. And President Mahama is tonight assuring participants at the National Education Consultative Forum that their recommendations will be implemented and not left together. Dasti says, speaking at the forum's launch in Ho, the Volta regional capital, he stated that clear timelines will be set to guide the execution of the proposed reforms. Now, ahead of the elections, President Mahama committed to transforming Ghana's education sector, citing numerous challenges affecting its effectiveness. Well, shortly after taking office, he reiterated this dedication, hence the formation of this particular committee to undertake this particular consultative forum. Listen to him during the launch.
As a government, we are fully committed to this process, and the outcomes of this conference, I assure you that your recommendations are not going to gather dust on a shelf. They will not become symbolic recommendations, but they will form the foundation of a comprehensive reform agenda to build an inclusive, equitable, and transformative education system for Ghana and for the benefit of all Ghanaians. And so we'll prioritize the actionable reforms proposed here with clear timelines and measurable outcomes to guide our steps. Regular updates on progress will be shared with the public to build trust and transparency.
One key issue, is also the issue about the Parent-Teacher Association. The teacher, component of the Parent-Teacher Association was taken out some time ago by the previous government. It became PA. The president has been speaking about it. Yesterday, we heard from the education minister on this particular issue. President Mahama says the Parent-Teacher Association of schools can begin their work by engaging with schools to enhance their management. Listen.
Deepen partnership with parents, traditional authority, and local communities. And I'm happy that the Honorable Education Minister has already announced that PTAs can engage with schools to ensure that the children, the schools are properly managed. And so PTAs can start to do their work by engaging with the schools so that we deepen management of the schools. So deepen partnerships with parents, traditional authorities, and local communities to support every child's learning journey through the practice of learning teams.
Well, prior to the start of the consultative forum today, we heard from the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, the Christian Council, and of course the NPP, mentioning that they had not been invited. It came up, and my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, Presidential Affairs Correspondent, joins us on the line. The President had cause to touch on that particular issue. What exactly did he say?
Hello.
Yes, Maxwell. So I was talking about that apology that was issued to the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Christian Council by the President.
Well, that was what. Well, before I talk about that, what you hear in the background is the Ghana National Anthem, which is being played here at the Jubilee House. In about 5 minutes, the swearing in of Council of State members will be taking place here at the Jubilee House. The President just arrived, and that ceremony will be starting shortly here at the Jubilee House, swearing in of Council of State members. But earlier in Ho today, before his speech, he used the opportunity to apologize to members of the Ghana Catholic Bishop Conference and the Christian Council of Ghana. He said their invitation to the forum actually delayed, and he urged them to find a place in their hearts to forgive the organizers of the forum.
Friends of the media, we have gathered here this evening to witness the swearing of our newly appointed elected members of the Council of State by the President of the Republic. Now, before I invite the President to administer the oath, let me formally present the Chairman and members designate of the Council of State. So the Chairman designate of the Council of State, as elected this evening, is the Honorable Right Honorable Edward Oblado Ajaho, who is a former Speaker of Parliament, representing the Volta region. The Honorable former Chief Justice Sophia Akufi. Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Al-Hassan, a former Inspector General of Police, representing the Upper West region. Air Marshal Michael Sampson Oje, retired, the former Chief of Defense Staff, representing the Savannah region. Sorry. Pardon me. Yes, there's an error in the document before me. Pardon me. Odi Ahoho Yawujebi the second, who is the President of the National House of Chiefs. Dasobe Guamadako, the Chief of Action Kukranchumi. Osaberima Kosiata the second, who is the Paramount Chief of the Wa Traditional Area.
So currently underway is the swearing-in ceremony of members of the Council of State, both those elected and those who have been also selected. That's currently underway at the Jubilee House as we speak, as my colleague Maxo Agbagba reports about it. I'll take you there shortly once the ceremony, at least right now, they're just introducing those who are present at that particular swearing-in. As soon as we have the President actually given his speech or so, or anything else that happens, I'll take you there. But of course, we've been hearing from President Mahama issue an apology to the Catholic Bishops' Conference, and then of course the Christian Council for that late invitation.
First, let me express my sincerest apologies on behalf of the Planning Committee of the Forum to our stakeholders of the faith-based organizations for the unpardonable omission committed in your delayed invitation to this forum. I am aware that the omission was very speedily remedied, but you still deserve an unqualified apology for this oversight. And since you are the purveyors of God's mercy on earth, I'm sure that you are forgiving us.
And that's
Thank you very much. And we know you are important stakeholders because you own some of the schools, and so this educational forum is important to see how we carry everybody together.
That's President John Dramani Mahama there at that particular forum. We've been hearing also from the Education Minister, Haruna Idris, who says government is committed to transforming Ghana's educational sector to make it one of the best in the world.
Presidential advisor on the economy. So I'll do just that. And then to the bureaucrats at the Ministry of Education. Today, President Mahama is here personally in honor of his pledge to the Ghanaian people, keeping faith with the Ghanaians. So I describe him as the legacy president. He would lead by examples, set those examples so that in future presidents of Ghana can learn at least to honor their words with the electorate. So today's National Education Forum is in fulfillment of one such promise he made, that he would examine and rely on your expert professional advice. He doesn't seem to say that he has the answers. So today's forum is for Excellency John Dramani Mahama to hear from you, the experts and the professionals. Where are we on the state of education in Ghana?
Well, so that's underway as we speak in the Volta Regional Capital Hall. Now, let's focus on Sanbonjida, of course, Sabonjida in the Tatale Sanguli district of the Northern Region. And that's where our Crumbling Start series begins from, produced by Emmanuel Jivenu in partnership with School for Life. And education stakeholders are calling for the decentralization of teacher deployment to address shortages in deprived areas. Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, warns that national teacher-pupil ratios mask critical regional disparities and advocates for district-led recruitment. There's more in this particular feature, Crumbling Start.
For pupils of Sambonjida DA Basic School, having a teacher is a privilege.
This man here.
2 trained teachers shoulder the responsibility of educating pupils from kindergarten to basic 6. Volunteers like Thomas, a senior high school graduate, step in to assist, but the results are troubling.
So I'm coming here to teaching ABCD to describe yourself to the 1 to 3 2. So that's what I'm coming to be teaching for my children. A, B, C, D.
Thomas tries his best, but his grasp of the English language and teaching methodology raises concerns. In one instance, L was missing from the blackboard. Worse still, pupils are thought to pronounce M and N the same way, and these children repeat these errors with confidence.
I, J, K, N, N.
These children are set up to fail before they even begin. I could not stand by and watch the blunder persist, so I intervened.
There's an alphabet missing.
J, K, N.
L. So where's L? L is not there. So write the L there. Write the L. Okay, so this is how to write the L.
The situation grows grimmer.
Yeah, you get it.
I get it.
The school has only 3 classrooms, forcing 2 different classes to share a single space.
I'm Francis N. Gangam, the head of Sabonjida DA Primary. The whole school from KG1 to P6, we are only 2 teachers. It's a burden. And when you look at the structure, 2 classes in one, which is very difficult for a teacher to be inside one class with 2 classes combined, teaching.
For pupils in kindergarten, their classroom is nothing more than a fenced area with blocks intended for construction, now serving as furniture. These blocks were donated 5 years ago during the height of campaigning, but they were never used as promised.
The blocks, that was the MP, the campaign time, the last election campaign time. That he came and molded the blocks there, that he wanted to build a classroom for the community or for the school. Then after winning, he didn't come back again. So I will arrange the blocks for them, to those who didn't get a sitting place to sit down. Then I put some blocks inside the classroom for them to sit down. Then have a learning successfully. I even called the PTA meeting. Then they said, in case the blocks are lying down, spoiling, and they are not doing anything, we can use it to what? To make a runner pit, or we use some of the blocks to fence the KG that will make the hut for them to be inside.
The lack of support does not end there. The school is not part of the school feeding program, forcing pupils to walk home for meals. Many do not return further disrupting the education.
Our school feeding, we have written a letter. I've come to the head teacher. We have written a letter a lot to the district director, but no help, no voice coming out for us to help.
The community is trying to keep the school afloat. Parents pay volunteers like Thomas in kind, working on their farm as laborers.
They said they will sit down and decide either they will do contribution, they will contribute and pay them, or they will be helping them in their farms, the volunteers.
The head teacher and community leaders are calling on the government to act. They want more teachers, adequate classrooms, and inclusion in the school feeding program.
A teacher is to teach somebody to also become somebody in future. Yes. So if I'm here to teach the children to become somebody more than me in future, and there's no place for me or for the children to learn and also become somebody in future, then how will I be happy? So that made me sad whenever I come here to teach.
Our people in Sabungira are crying. Whatever is here, we are looking for the government to come to our aid so that they will help us, so that our children will also get shade and sit and remove from the sitting under the tree, sitting under the shade, so that it will motivate some of our children so that they will also learn and go and be somebody in future. We are crying, government, come and into our aid.
Be fair to us. I say again, be fair to us.
Be fair to us, Sabungira people. Be fair to us, government. Be fair to us.
Basic education is the foundation of every child's future. But in Sambonjida, that foundation is crumbling. For these children, the dream of a brighter tomorrow seems distant. It is a call to action for policymakers to prioritize schools like this before it's too late. Emmanuel Jivenu, JoyNews, Tatale Sangoli, Northern Region.
This my hand.
That's our crumbling start. We can also hear from Senior Education Advisor at the Africa Education Watch and former Northern Regional Director of Education, Dr. Peter Tefwa, is calling for a policy requiring teachers to sign a bond after being posted to schools in a bid to address the ongoing teacher shortage and improve retention rates.
I think what we need to add is to sign a bond. We must attach this with a bond that I will stay there for, let's say, 5 years or even more. So when we attach the bond, and the person chooses to go that far, that interior, because he wants the job, and you sign that contract, a kind of MOU, that you stay there for at least, say, 5 years. If 5 years is not up, you cannot move. The moment you move, the system should take your name off the payroll. If that can be done, if we can track that, then we'll be sure that we'll have teachers in our various institutions.
Well, so that's some stakeholders raising concerns about the teacher-pupil ratio when it comes to the basic level and the concerns that have been raised on this. And as we speak, the President, John Dramani Mahama, has just sworn in members of the Council of State and at the Jubilee House. And earlier, we're bringing you excerpts of what was happening there as we speak. The oath has been administered and they are currently taking photos. And this is the composition of the next Council of State, as has been inaugurated or sworn in. We have Right Honourable Edward Kobla Do Ajaho is a former Speaker of Parliament. He will be the chairman of the Council of State. Right Honourable Edward Do Ajaho is the chairman now of the Council of State. And then we have Justice Sophia Kufu, retired. That's the former Chief Justice there. And she is from the Eastern Region. And that's Justice Sophia Kufu is a former Chief Justice, a member of the Council of State. We have the former Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Ahmed Al Hassan, Upper West Region. And he's a member of the Council of State, just sworn in. We have Air Marshal Michael Samson Oje, retired. He's a former Chief of Defence Staff on the Savannah region. Air Marshal Michael Samson Oje, former Chief of Defence Staff, Savannah region. We have Ofori-Atta Yao JB, the second, is the President of the National House of Chiefs from the Western North region. Ofori-Atta Yao JB, the second, President of the National House of Chiefs, Western North region. We have 10 other nominees that will make up the Council of State also. We have Dasibre Buamadako, he's a Chief of Achim Kukrentumi. We have Osaberi Makwesiata, the second, Paramount Chief of the Ogua Traditional Area in the Central Region. We have Justice Vida Amankwenua Akutu Bamfo, is a JSC, retired, is a former Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana from the Greater Accra Region. We have HRH Mangpangura Jakba Acho Ade Broni the first. He's a paramount chief of Mangpang Traditional Area in the Savannah region. We have Mr. Cletus Avoka. He's a former MP Zebila in the Upper East region. And then we have also Dr. Eunice Brookman Emisa, is a former Minister of Health. I'm sure you all remember Madam Brookman Emisa, Dr. Eunice Brookman Emisa from the Central region. We have Mrs. Betty Moldy Drisu, is a former Attorney General from the Ashanti region. We have Cynthia Komla Ajete, Komle Ajete is from the Greater Accra region. Mrs. Molly Enimado is a former ambassador, Greater Accra region, is a member of the Council of State. Nana Sa Jimfua II is a Queen Mother of a Yima Traditional Area in the Bono region. And then at the regional representatives, we have Maxwell Boache, Hakim Adai, Nene Drolo Bosu, Adamte I, Gabriel Adovo, Kwabla Tanko, Kwamega Atople from the Great Volta region. We have Kurang Evelyn, and then Michael Ado, Ochri Yao, and the Dr. Kusi Buachi Yadom. Pim Pampim Yao Cabrese the fifth is an accountant, and then Richard Kins Atipo. This is a composition of the Council of State, and they've just been sworn in at the presidency, and still going on, photos being taken with family members and the president and the vice president. Congratulations to all of them.
And this has some serious implications for certain key appointment that has to be made or confirmed. One can talk about the governor of the Bank of Ghana. You know, he had been nominated pending the
consultation with the Council of State. Now
State.
it is in force, in place. So you mean they can now give go
Take
ahead?
these lists. Also some security heads as well. If there would be any change as well, this Council of State would also help the president to make some key appointments. So the appointments are not over. Now that we have the full composition now, expect some announcement also
to go, so
yeah,
we're waiting. Well, but whilst we wait for the president to speak, what's in business?
Well, coming up, government sets March 3 to 4 as date for the National Economic Dialogue, as he hopes to use the program to kickstart the process of resetting the economy. And former boss of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Alex Mo, takes over as the new chief executive of the Millennium Development Authority. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your offers, essentials, Synthestanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Hey, welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, government has announced that it would hold the much talked about National Economic Dialogue on the 3rd to 4th of March 2025. A statement from the presidency announced the Accra International Conference Center as the venue for the program. It also announced that the outcome of the meeting should kickstart the process of resetting the economy as it build consensus on building that is dealing with the current challenges facing the economy. The dialogue will also bring together persons from the academia, private sector, civil society groups, and public policy institutions. Meanwhile, the former Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has signaled his party's opposition in participating in the National Economic Dialogue. Dr. Amin maintained that the current posture of government doesn't show that they really want to build consensus on stabilizing the economy.
To the effect that he is going to have a national economic dialogue that will go and misinform the Ghanaian people about our record. Why should we be part of it? I'm saying that the president has already passed a judgment that he inherited a struggling economy.
That could be a political statement.
Let me make my point. He inherited a bad economy, and he's now calling a national economic dialogue to just come and whitewash the claims he made. Nothing else. Because you have seen the data. And you know, and it's not just today. You have been reporting on economic data, not today. From last year, what we did, our performance from last year, started from the beginning of the year. In the first quarter, you know what happened? When the economy grew by about 4%. In the second quarter, when it grew by about 7%. In the third quarter, when it grew by about 7.2%. And we don't generate the data at the Ministry of Finance. It is generated by the Ghana Statistical Service, which is independent of us.
And that is the former Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam. And the Associate Director of Accounting and Finance firm Deloitte, Dennis Brown, has revealed that Ghana could benefit from some positive credit ratings in the coming months. Now, it follows the resumption of coupon payments for investors in the restructured domestic bonds and fresh payments made into the sinking fund. Mr. Brown noted that they could also impact on the overall debt position of the country.
This is quite significant because what government has done is effectively to communicate that me repaying your debts is my number one priority. That is why whatever the size of my income resources are, I have made an allocation out of that to ensure that even before the coupons mature, there's a set amount to cater for payments of that amount. Again, all of this is happening within the local scene, but these are things that the international investor community looks at as well, including our international ratings. Whenever they do the ratings, they look at what's happening locally as well as what's happening editors. And so if this positive news is picked up and they can validate government's commitment to ensuring that is sustained into the future, something that is going to impact positively on our credit rating. And hopefully it continues in that manner and we are able to return to the international market to source for funding whenever we need.
Associate Director at Accounting and Finance firm Deloitte, Dennis Brown. Now, the new Insurance Commissioner, Dr. Abiba Zakaria, has formally assumed office in charge to regulate the insurance space. But what are some of the challenges that lie ahead for her, and also what areas should be planning to focus more? There is more in this report.
For some industry players, one area that will be on top of her agenda is insurance penetration in the country. Can anything be done to improve the situation when it comes to the total number of the population that are exposed to insurance products and services? Should the National Insurance Commission roll out fresh measures to deal with this challenge? What about the issue of capitalization? Some industry watchers are also pushing strongly for an increase due to the impact of the recent debt exchange program. But will the new insurance commissioner heed to this call? Others will also be looking forward to see how she strictly enforces the various regulations, especially when it comes to pricing of insurance products and payment of premiums.
And that is a Business Desk report. Meanwhile, the president of the Insurance Broker Association of Ghana, Shaibu Ali, has maintained that the new commissioner needs to take a serious look at the pricing of insurance products in the country.
I think that the challenges of the industry are bare and clear to her, and I'm sure by now she's already figuring them out. Would be premium undercutting, which has been a bane for this industry. I'll tell you one thing, that the premiums that we are charging on the market, oftentimes it's not market premiums. We are charging woefully under what's supposed to be charged. If you look at international best practice and even locally here on the market, what the premiums that customers pay is not there at all. And this is one area that she needs to take head on. Because people have set up insurance companies as a business to make a profit. But at the end of the day, premiums that are charged are below that hard level. Claims come and the customers want to be paid.
President of the Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana, Shaibu Ali, and the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has called on government to use the 2025 budget to initiate policies and incentives that would help stimulate private sector growth and helping reset the economy. Now, speaking to Joy Business at the inauguration and swearing in of the new council members of the chamber, President of the chamber, Stephen Mason, pledged their commitment to collaborate in supporting government's 24-hour economy.
Duties at the port has to be streamlined. I've just mentioned, how do you pay interest on money that belongs to you, that you are paying? You pay interest. I mean, that is pathetic. So government has to look at that and streamline the taxes we pay at the port. As a matter of fact, at the port we pay tax on tax. It's ridiculous. We can't continue doing that. We want to support the government on a 24-hour economy, and that is great. The Chamber of Commerce wants to support it, but we need the businesses to be protected, because if Our business environment is not friendly. Businesses suffer. Our people are ransacking our businesses. Obviously, that 24-hour economy cannot be supported.
And that's the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Stephen Meza. Meanwhile, 18 newly sworn-in council members were charged to discharge their duties diligently in the growth of the economy. And if you turn attention to the stock market, if you were a shareholder of Cowbank, each share that they're holding now was up by £1 to close at 45 pesos. That also of GCB Bank was up by £6 to close at 6 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Let's do sports.
Yeah, well, quick update. The return of the Ghana Premier League is still uncertain because Kumasi Asante Kotoko in just an hour ago issued a statement where they have reaffirmed their decision not to participate in the Ghana Premier League despite ongoing engagement with the Ghana Football Association. Well, the club had earlier indicated that they will not continue engage in any football activities following the death of their fan in that game against Sonchaman in the Ghana Premier League. Now, the club, in a statement, stated today that the senior team has resumed training. However, they will not return to the Ghana Premier League until justice is served for the murder of their fan, and also that until the Ghana Football Association has met their demands relative to safety at the various match venues. Well, in a related development, Chief Executive Officer of Elmina Sharks, Pakwesi Indum, has been charged by the Ghana Football Association for what they believe are allegations of inciting fans to attack match officials. Now, the charges which the Ghana Football Association says is in breach of their code of conduct and also regulations guiding the Division 1 League football. While Pakwesi Indum, in an interview with GT Sports Plus, rejected the allegations and has already indicated that he might withdraw Elmina Sharks from the ongoing Division 1 League.
Right now, I'm considering whether to even continue on to have this team to be part of the league. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I don't do it for money. I don't do it for anything else. We do it for opportunity. But, do we have to suffer these sorts of indignities, whether we continue to be in the league or not? So I will make that decision. There must be people in Ghana interested enough in our football. Football is money. And me, if you want to shut me up, it's not possible because this one is not my job. This one is not what feeds me. This is entertainment. And if something is going wrong, I will speak about it. If they want to punish Sharks as a football club, they will punish in Ghanaian football.
That's Dr. Pakwesi Indum, and he's expected to, reply to the GFA latest tomorrow. There's a few games happening in the second leg of the Champions League knockout round playoffs. AC Milan is in action against Feyenoord, and they're currently leading by 1-0. They lost in the first leg. Atalanta will also play Club Brugge. Bayern Munich, we've got commentary of that game for you against Celtic on Hits 103.9 FM, and Benfica will be in action against AS Monaco. Big game tomorrow, Manchester City and Real Madrid. Following Madrid's 3-2 victory, Man City will be looking to overturn that deficit. There
will definitely be an overturning. Thank you very much, Ms. Bao, for the latest. Let's focus on health now. And Ghana has officially recorded its first case of the respiratory disease human metapneumovirus, the HMPV. The World Health Organization recently reported surge in cases of the flu-like human virus in China, which has raised fears of another COVID-style pandemic. Well, according to Health Minister Kwabena Mintah-Kando, government is on top of the situation in a bid to prevent a nationwide spread. We'll get more on that shortly, but first, here's the Health Minister, Kwabena Mintah-Kando, providing an update on the recent cholera outbreak that has killed nearly 50 persons across the country.
Since the outset in October 2024, it has unfortunately spread to other districts in Greater Accra and 4 other regions, namely Central, Western, Ashanti, and Eastern regions. The Speaker, as of 13 February 2025, we have recorded 6,145 cases, 719 confirmed cases, and unfortunately 49 deaths. In all, 5 regions have reported cases since the outbreak began. These are Greater Accra, Central, Western, Ashanti, and Eastern regions. Mr. Speaker, it is worth noting that the situation is improving, with active cases now concentrated in the central region only. Despite worrying situation in the central region, Mr. Speaker, I bring encouraging news. New cholera cases are decreasing, and the districts of Aguna West and Efutu, which were initially hard hit, are now showing a decline in new cases. Mr. Speaker, as of 16 February, only Central Region had active cases. The region reported a total of 28 active cases of admission. Efutu, 18. Cape Coast, 6. Aguna West, 4 cases. Mr. Speaker, the positive shift is a testament to the relentless effort of our health workers and partners who have been diligently implementing a robust response plan.
Well, he's also been speaking about this respiratory disease, and that is in China as we speak. One case recorded in Ghana. Hopefully, we do not get to that pandemic situation witnessed in 2020. We'll hear from him on this in the briefing, but let's get update on the cholera situation. 50 persons have lost their lives. We are told about 600 cases recorded so far across the country. Let's check on the central region, and really one of the regions that has recorded many of these cases when it comes to the cholera situation. Well, Eric, you've been interacting with residents, authorities in the central region. Do they have the situation under control, you'd say?
So, MF, the region has taken delivery of some vaccines as part of measures to curtail a possible surge of cholera. This decision comes in response to the number of cholera cases that were recorded and, of course, some fatalities. Remember, we reported about 20 out of the 22 districts are recorded cases of cholera here in the central region. If listeners will recall, the Central Regional Health Directorate had raised agents alert over a possible surge in cholera due to the inconsistent water supply. MFA, I can confirm that interventions have been made, especially in most of the senior high schools and, of course, in most of the campuses, i.e., the University of Cape Coast and, of course, the University of the Cape Coast Technical University. Data that I saw suggests that 4 out of the 20 districts that recorded cases out of 26 January 2025 currently are cholera-free. So, if I can confirm that measures put in place by the major stakeholders, they are yielding the necessary dividends here in the central region.
Okay, that's my colleague Eric Asante there giving us the situation in the central region. We know that the minister has also been updating Parliament on the meningitis situation. So we have 2 key situations on our hands. We have cholera and then, of course, meningitis. And now we are also recording the first case of human metapneumovirus, HMPV. And that's more like we're hoping we do not get to a COVID-style pandemic. But let's focus on meningitis. And one of the regions that we're recording a number of cases is the Upper West region. We've been hearing from my colleague Rafi Salam giving us updates on the situation. But thankfully, we have the regional health director himself, Dr. Damien Punguyiri. We're grateful for your time, Dr. Damien. So how exactly are we containing spread of the meningitis in the region, you'd say?
Thank you for having me. I think the situation remains stable. I'm hearing my own voice.
But I can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay. So the situation is a bit stable. We are reporting numbers of suspected cases, which is normal because once the education is going up, people are likely to report early. A good number will not be true cases. What is important is that they are not dying. So we are not so concerned about the numbers of cases going up, but those dying is what our concern is. So as I speak, the region now has 147 suspected cases. 25 have been confirmed. The death remains 16, and 24 are on admission. We manage as cases, suspected cases. And that is what is important for now. Once they are not dying and they are reporting early and reporting all symptoms related to the disease and they are being investigated and managed, we like it that way.
That sounds encouraging, but we earlier heard the Ghana Health Service Director mention that cases of meningitis should be treated free. Is that the situation in the Upper West region? Are we seeing people now showing up more because it's been made free?
Yes, so it's a combination of factors. I mean, the awareness is very high. I mean, education on the symptoms is ongoing, and then the fact that they don't have to pay. So now nobody sits at home when they feel like they're having symptoms similar to meningitis. So the awareness is one, and then the fact that there's no cost to care is also the second point.
Well, we have many listeners, at least in the Upper West region. What exactly should we look out for, once again, briefly?
So what people should look out for is that when you are feeling unwell, for example, you have headache, fever, you go to the nearest hospital or the nearest clinic, they evaluate you and then give you care. If you don't have meningitis, whatever condition it is, you'll be cared for. If you have meningitis that they suspect and they cannot manage there, they will refer to the next level. So that is early reporting is very key. And there are instances where we also have co-infection. You go to the hospital and you are diagnosed as a case of malaria after test. When you are given treatment, we expect that within 24 hours, the condition should come down. If it is not coming down, come back to the same health facility, and then they will check you again, because some of the cases start with malaria, and then the treatment doesn't get better. So we are telling people that when you go to the health facility, you are diagnosed as malaria, and you are put on the treatment. Malaria treatment is very effective, and within 24 hours, you get better.
Okay.
If you are not getting better, return, and then we'll investigate you for meningitis. If it happens to be it, we will treat you for free.
We're grateful.
And also the fact that people need to, avoid overcrowding, drink a lot of water. The weather is quite high now. Temperatures are increasing, and people need to hydrate well during this period.
Dr. Punguyiri, we are grateful for your time. That's Dr. Damien Punguyiri, is that's the Upper West Regional Health Director, giving us update on the meningitis situation. At least you have all the symptoms that you need to look out for if you are especially in the Upper West region, and you should actually visit the nearest facility for some attention. And just before we head out, the Ghana Journalists Association, GJA, has called on President John Dramani Mahama to honor his campaign promise of protecting journalists. Well, this appeal follows a series of attacks on media personnel, including my very own colleagues Erastus Asaredonko, not just him, or Heming Teria, on their fight against illegal mining. GJA also cited recent assaults on journalists in the Ashanti region during the Council of State elections. The GJA President Albert Jumfo has been addressing a press conference.
We also addressed the barbaric attack on Heming Teria of the Multimedia Group Limited by a mob of illegal small-scale miners operating in the Offense Shelter Belt Forest Reserve. We wish to take this opportunity to appeal to one of our own, senior member of this fraternity, the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, to take a personal interest in these cases as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces and ensure that the perpetrators are arrested, arraigned, and punished for their crimes. In making this appeal, we remind the President of the commitment he made to the media and the nation on 7 July 2024 at the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel during a media engagement. On that occasion, I, on behalf of the GJ and the media fraternity, asked President Mahama, then flag bearer of the NDC, about his thoughts on the privatization of the state-owned media and assault against media practitioners. The President said once again, he was against both instances and pledged to promote the interest of the media at all times. This is the time we expect the President, who is one of us, to redeem his pledge and to share in the plight of journalists.
And that's the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Jumfo, ending tonight's edition of Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. The Geek Squad are up next. Please do stay. I am MFA Powell. Have a good evening.